I began my journey in Madrid early afternoon on November 5th, deciding to pass the time by wandering through Parque Retiro. Pleasantly greeted by shacks filled with books of all different genres, leading to a row of trees. It was by far one of the biggest parks I've ever been to. There was so much space to wander and find quiet spots to listen to the birds and watch the orange and yellow leaves fall from the trees. Then, heading to an area called Salamanca, filled with expensive stores and well-dressed locals, I found my first market. I had my suitcase and 2 bags with me, so I didn't spend too much time before finding a spot to stand and have my first real taste of Spain. After a much-needed nap, I headed out around sunset to explore the rest of the town. Stumbling upon Mercado de San Miguel, filled with limitless options of bites, and looking back, I wish I tried more. Because I was outside of Center City, prices were reasonable, and there was a lot more energy to admire. The next day, I went back to see the neighborhood in sunlight, strolling back to the city center to find a bite and catch up on reading my grandmother's journal. She visited Madrid and Barcelona in 1955, so of course I had to see what she saw. I gave Retiro Park another try, this time being able to walk leisurely and through the quieter paths. At first, I wasn't planning on going, but I had read that she'd visited Museo del Prado, exclaiming that it was one of the finest in the world, and to say I wasn't disappointed would be an understatement. Right after this clip, I was told I wasn't able to film, but as much as I was disappointed at first, I realized how much more I enjoyed it simply through experiencing it. Most of the exquisite naturalistic art coming from Goya, Velázquez, and Rubens. Before I knew it, my time in Madrid came to an end. Now, I was off for my first train ride to Barcelona. I met up with my friend, beginning our adventures of course in a bookstore, selling everything for €3. I bought De Ratones y los Hombres, or Of Mice and Men, hoping to finally have this be the first book in Spanish that I finish. It was pretty late in the evening, but we decided to check out Mercat de Boqueria, which sold lots of fresh seafood and meat, alongside nuts, fresh juices, and just about anything covered in chocolate. We grabbed a beer at a bar facing the market before walking back home for the night. The next morning, we had to get ourselves a coffee and a croissant, knowing that we would spend most of the day exploring the city. We did some thrifting at Humana Vintage, found some more bookstores, and in the heat of the afternoon, made it to Basilica de la Sagrada Familia, the architecture unlike anything I have ever seen before. We sat in a park nearby to figure out the plans for the rest of the day, and eventually just found it best to wander, coming across Spain's Arc de Triomphe, and then taking a train to Park Güell, only to find a fee for entering. So we headed back to the house to make some dinner and prepare for a night of dancing, hitting this club called Demons, which had some really great disco. Since we went out the night before, we had a later start to the day, but still wanted to make it to Montserrat, another destination that my grandmother had visited in her time there. It was relatively inexpensive to take the train about an hour from the city and also catch the cable car ride up the mountain. The following day was full of travel, going back to Madrid to then head to the south. First stop, Córdoba. Although Madrid and Barcelona have its history, this was a place unlike anywhere I have seen before. Tight but brightly colored corridors winding down to the Moorish walls. A mix of architecture seen in the courtyards, the arched doorways, and the detailed geometric tiles, some incorporating Quranic text with floral design. My first day in Córdoba, I spent most of my time just wandering and becoming familiar with the town, so my second day was spent exploring the sites. La Mezquita Catedral, the 8th century structure, amazed me. Having one place with influence from two different religions is rare, but the fusion of styles meshed perfectly. While it wasn't very pleasant to walk in, my morning travels to Sevilla amidst the rain were comforting. This was to be my first time staying in a hostel. For the first time on this trip, I was finally able to cook and was desperately in need of some vegetables. So from here on, I began to eat more of my own meals, not only to save money, but because cooking and even cleaning is something I enjoy to have as part of my routine. And maybe because Spanish tapas was starting to get a bit repetitive. That night, I traveled to Málaga, arriving pretty late and spending Sunday as a much-needed reset day. I spent a lot of time in Sevilla with other people, so now it was time to recharge and recover by the beach and the mountains. Stomach full, I started to explore some of the streets on my way to the Museo Picasso. Of course, forgetting to film any of his art because I was so focused on learning his techniques and styles, like Cubism and Classicism, beforehand knowing nothing but his name. Personally, while I was interested to learn more about him, I found more contentment in the Merowitz exhibit, showing his photographs from his travels within Europe and Northern Africa during the 60s. There's just something so easy about photos that, when captured correctly, really can make you feel like you're in that moment. I think a lot of the time, people go on vacation for a break. But honestly, more than anything, I was seeking to do what I do at home in a new setting. To have the chance to appreciate a new surrounding, culture, and landscape was what I desired most. I don't think I've ever been so excited to wake up and see the sunrise, a habit I hope to continue here at home. Once the weekend came around, the sun came out and the afternoons were hot. I wanted to use this time to find little nooks to read, write, and simply be in the moment. I went out to experience the nightlife, treating myself to some delicious lamb biryani, watching passers-by as I ate at an empty restaurant because no one here eats before 8 p.m. I've never spent 3 weeks in one country, so I was almost bound to fall in love. I can't begin to express how grateful I am to be able to take a trip like this one. The goal was to practice Spanish, try new food, meet new people, and more than anything, continue to find new parts of myself, testing my abilities, my strengths and weaknesses, and ultimately seeking a bilingual brain, which isn't easy, but worth it. The best part of this trip is knowing that one just like it will happen again, each different in its own way. I learned what I can do better in terms of preparation, but for the first time, I'm really proud of what I accomplished. Continuing to stay motivated to cook for myself, take care of my body, and even just go outside on the harder days. I judged Spain harshly at first, only seeing the bigger cities before finding what I truly craved, the slow living of Andalusia. My adventures continue, and I hope you stick around. See you soon.